Okay, so what we're doing in this section is the distributive property. And distributive property is based on what it means to distribute something. And when you distribute something, you're actually passing things out. And so what I have is it's when I have a number next to parentheses, and you can't see it, but there is actually, let's rewrite it up here. There's actually a time signs whenever a number touches a parentheses. So I'm going to distribute this 2 to everything inside of the parentheses. So you're going to multiply everything in the parentheses by the term in front. So what happens is it becomes 2 times x minus 2 times 4. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 4 is 8. Same thing here. I have a negative 3. So negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And then negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12. Some people like to show this first step. It's not required, but if it helps you visualize what's going on, maybe you should do it. I'll do it for one more. So negative 2 times 3x minus, because there's a minus there, negative 2 times 5. Negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x. These two negatives here, I could circle and make them a plus, so it becomes plus 10. So that's what the distributive property is. You multiply everything inside the parentheses by the number that's in front. Okay, so now simplifying. Simplifying is when you combine like terms. You're not solving, you're just combining like terms. So let's look what this happens. First thing you always do is you always perform the distributive property to all parentheses. So let's say I have this example, 2x plus 1 plus 3x minus 6. So the first thing I do is I'm always going to distribute. So that gives me 2x plus 2. And this one gives me 3x. And then 3 times 6 is 18, but it's a minus. The second step you're going to do is you're going to determine what can go together. So this is that process where you either underline or you circle, but you're finding your like terms. So 2x can go with 3x. And then 2 can go with a negative 18. So that's step 2. Step 3 is actually for you to combine your like terms. Just do what you get. So a positive 2x and a positive 3x gives me 5x. And 2 and a negative 18 gives you a negative 16. And then the last step is you want to write an alpha order with descending exponents, which we've done. We have it in our x and then our numbers. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to go down here and try some problems. We're going to skip the area. And we're going to try numbers 1 and 2. So when we look at number 1, one thing I want you to make sure that you recognize is that this 2 is going to go to the 3x and to the 4. I'm not going to take it to the 5x, because it's not in parentheses. It's not near the 2. So it becomes 2 times 3x minus 2 times 4. And then this, I don't do anything with it. I just bring it straight down because there's nothing to do with it. And now you're going to simplify. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 4 is 8, but I need to bring that negative down. And then I have a 5x. Now I look to see what can go together, and a 6x and a 5x can go together, so I get 11x minus 8. Okay, I would like you to try number 2 and number 3 on your own, and when you think you have it, go ahead and press play. Okay, so you should have done negative 3 times x, which is negative 3x, and negative 3 times a positive 5, which is a negative 15. I'm not going to take it to the 10. I'm just going to bring the 10 down. Now I look for like terms, and my like terms are right there, my numbers. So I get negative 3x, and a negative 15 and a negative 10 make a negative 25, and that is the answer. For number 3, the tricky thing with number 3, is that you have to distribute not just the 2, but the negative 2. Okay, you have to remember a minus is the same as a negative, so I'm going to distribute negative 2. So negative 2 times positive 4x is negative 8x. Negative 2 times negative 3 gives me a negative 6. But some of you might recognize that, oh, a negative times a negative gives me a positive. And then this 5x, I'm just going to bring down because I didn't do anything with it. Now I combine my terms. 5x minus 8x is negative 3x. And I bring down my plus 6, and that is my answer. Okay. All right, I'd like you to try number 4. There's 2 different parentheses, so the first one you're going to distribute the 2 to, and then the second one you're going to distribute the 3 to, and see what you get. So you should have distributed and got 6x minus 8, and then I'm going to distribute the next one, 3x plus 12. Now I need to combine my terms. A 6x and a 3x give me a 9x. And then negative 8 and a positive 12. Different signs subtract. And so it's 4. And since 12 is bigger, it's positive 4. Okay, for number 5, it looks a little confusing because I have a parentheses, but there's no number there. What you do need to remember is that if you don't see a number there, there's a 1 there. So I'm going to distribute negative 1 because there's a minus. So I get negative 4x. And then I get negative 1 times 6 is 6. And then I'm going to bring everything else down. Now I do have 2 negatives there, so I'm going to circle and change them. Now I'm going to look for my like terms. 3x and a negative 4x is a negative 1x. 2 plus 6 is 8. And that's the answer. All right, 6 is as hard as it gets because it has 2 parentheses and it has the same thing. So remember that's a 1. So go ahead and distribute the 2 to the first parentheses. Distribute the negative 1 to the second parentheses, and then see what can go together. So you should have got 4, because I just bring it down. There's nothing to do with that. 2 times 3x is 6x. 2 times 6 is 12. And I bring down the minus sign with it. Negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x. Negative 1 times negative 8 is a minus negative 8, excuse me. And now those 2 plus become positive. So I have a 6x and a negative 2x. That gives me 4x. Now I have 4 minus 12 plus 8. I usually will combine all my positives first. It makes it a little easier. So 4 plus 8 is 12, and 12 minus 12 is 0. So you can write a plus 0, or you could just write that your answer is 4x. So when you're doing these problems, remember the first step you have to do is distribute, and then you see what can go together and combine. All right, the last type of problem we have is we need to find the area. And so we've found some perimeter before, and remember perimeter is when you add up the outside. For area, we're going to multiply, and we have to have formulas. The area for a rectangle is just base times height. The area for a triangle is 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. It means the same thing. So for this one, the rectangle, I'm just going to do 4 times 12 because my base and height, it doesn't matter the order of those, I just know I have to multiply them. So my area is 48 inches squared. For a triangle, you do have to know what the base and the height is, and we should actually draw this. For the base and the height for a triangle, they must form a right angle. And so that's this one right here. So my base and height are 12 and 5. So you could do 12 times 5 and divide by 2, or you could take half of 12, which is 6, and times by 5, and I get 30. Both ways you get the same answer. All right, for this last one, this is where I start to get into some algebraic expressions. So I have to multiply my base and my height. So I'm going to do my 5 times 2x minus 5. Well, this is a distributing problem. So I'm going to distribute, and I get 10x, and 5 times 5 is 25, and I bring down the negative. And that's the answer. All right, so let's look at the last problem down here, number 7. I'd like you to try and set it up and see if you can find the area of the problem. And when you think you have it, press play. So you should have done base times height, which is 3 times 5x squared plus x minus 4. And I'm going to distribute the 3 to each of those things, which gives me 15x squared plus 3x minus 12. And that's it. Okay? So remember, area is base times height. For rectangles and parallelograms, pretty much almost all four-sided figures. Triangles are a little different. And then the steps, you distribute, and then you combine like terms.